I think it's very interesting how so many people automatically think that Easy the Block Captain was wrong for breaking a contract with URL. ARP recently uploads a blog and points out something very important to take into consideration when discussing the situation that has to do with Easy the Block Captain. And the point is was this contract situation even right from the jump? Was this contract even legal from the jump? And if so, was Easy wrong in the situation? But also ARP takes this moment to also drop jewels on the BRC and battle rappers. And hopefully battle rappers understand that they actually have more power than they think. Let's talk about it. First of all, last that I checked on the URLTV.TV app, I still saw that my man Easy was 11-1. That's what I saw last time I checked, and I checked earlier today. When it goes back to 12-0, then I'll make my blog apologizing for whatever saying that URL sabotaging Easy, even though some of y'all don't understand that the URL watches and listens to our conversations and respond to what's going on in real time. So if there had been no lashback or no conversation about this glitch or this update, it's quite possible that the record would have been left exactly how it was, which would have been 9-3. People can't exclude that possibility, bruh. Trust and believe. Let's get into the situation though, bruh. A lot of people have been having this conversation about Easy the Block Captain, which I don't understand, because I feel as if though Easy the Block Captain has been the most transparent about the situation with URL. On the other hand, URL is not as transparent as Easy the Block Captain, which makes sense because the URL is a business. Whatever they say has to be politically correct and blah, blah, blah. So they're not going to be out there putting out and speaking out how they feel and blah, blah, blah. But Easy would. Easy's an independent person now, you know what I'm saying? He says what he feels, whatever he wants, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case is. And Easy told us already about this URL situation in one of his lives. He let us know that one of the reasons that he was able to get out of the situation is because the contract wasn't even legal. The contract pretty much wasn't even legal. Now, some people wanted to say and jump the gun and say, oh, Easy was wrong for not obeying his contract, or not obeying his contract, or not completing his contract, without ever having taken into consideration whether this contract was legitimate to begin with. I'm almost, after seeing everything that's going on, I'm almost confident now that that is probably specifically exactly what the loophole was in the contract. What's being discussed right now. What ARP is currently shedding light on. It's funny because I don't think that there's any actual definition for what battle rappers are. So I don't know, and I don't think that there's any actual definition for whether or not a battle rapper is an employee or whether or not a battle rapper is a contractor. And I feel like that right there might be one of the biggest gray areas as it pertains to these contracts, which is pretty much exactly what ARP starts to get into, which I appreciate, because this information could empower battle rappers to start to figure out and find out whether or not they are an employee to the company or whether they are a private contractor, which is very important to distinguish, because ARP actually starts to go over specifically some of the laws in New York being one of the main states, URL being based out of New York, and blah, blah, most likely that's where, you know, the LLC and all that good stuff, you know what I'm saying, was set up and all that stuff. So he starts to get into some of the rules as it pertains to private contractors in the state of New York. And I feel like it was revealing in a sense where if you're a private contractor, right? If you're a private, or if you understand and or realize that you're a private contractor, you actually have significantly more freedoms and abilities to do other business and other things, as opposed to you being a battle rapper employee to a company. So ARP starts to get into, which is very smart of you, ARP, bro. I'm putting these things together, bro. You got the divide and conquer cards coming out, bro. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, URL and Chrome 23, you know what I'm saying, are having issues. And now we having this, like, we putting out this information which could be absolutely vital, you know what I'm saying, and helpful to a battle rapper. So ARP starts to get into the fact that if you're a private contractor, you have the ability to do business with other companies. You do have the ability to do business with other companies. Obviously, unless otherwise specifically outlined in a contract, which in one of URL's contracts would be RBE. But even then, ARP starts to break down and get into the fact that even if you are under some kind of agreement or contract as a private contractor, the contract has to be fair as far as how long the contract is, as long as the said contract and duration of contract isn't causing any hardships to the battle rapper or the private contractor in this case, which if we think about and apply this to Easy the Block Captain's situation, URL trying to prevent Easy the Block Captain from doing a battle on Chrome 23, even though Chrome 23 wasn't listed in their contracts, would be considered a hardship, or the URL causing a hardship as far as Easy the Block Captain goes. And so long as Easy the Block Captain is recognized as a private contractor. This is why I think it's genius for ARP to be talking about this and breaking it down like this, because when we really get down to the nitty-gritty of it and we really think about what's going on and what's being said here, like the overall message of what's being said here, it should really help a battle rapper understand and want to find out and figure out, first of all, am I an employee or am I a contractor? Secondly, if I'm considered a private contractor, then I do have the ability to work with other businesses. If I'm on a 5-year contract, but I have no guaranteed battles coming up, I have no guaranteed money coming up, and an opportunity comes up for me to actually do a battle on another business that's not specifically outlined in the contract, which might only be RBE at this point or whatever, then they have the right legally, as so long as URL is, you know, the LLC and everything and the rules are from the state of New York and blah, to go and do business with somebody else. Because that means that the URL's not booking them. They don't have a guaranteed date or battle coming up. There's no guaranteed bag. That's a hardship that a private contractor would be going through. Which is why, again, ARP, you're genius for pointing this out, because That is 100% fact. I almost feel as if though, yo, ARP, you trying to stir up, you trying to open up a can of worms, my man. You trying to start a battle rap revolution over at URL, bruh? If battle rappers start realizing that they are actually private contractors as opposed to employees, unless otherwise specifically stated on some kind of contract and or paperwork, right? Because battle rap is great. Battle rap is still in its infant stages. I'm sure that that's a very gray area as it pertains to the URL and blase blah, whether or not to how to distinguish these artists. Are they employees or are they private contractors? Because if they're private contractors, URL, that means that you have to make sure that that means that these guys would have the ability to do business with other people so long as you're not booking them and there's no guaranteed nothing or nothing and it's not within a reasonable time frame, then these guys actually do have the ability and the power, bruh, to go ahead and do what they need to do. ARP, I see what you doing, bro. I see what you doing, bro.
It's from, okay, New York State Attorney's Law Office again. And is a non-compete provision enforceable? See that? Is a non-compete agreement enforceable?
So pretty much the contracts, are they enforceable?
This light is killing it, but I think y'all saw the words or whatever. Once again, y'all go pull this up yourself or call a lawyer. All right. For a non-compete agreement to be enforceable in New York, it must, one, be necessary to protect the employer's legitimate business interests. It's fair. Two, be reasonable in terms of scope, the duration and time period. We just spoke on that. Not cause.
So basically, if you try to lock down a private contractor for 5 years and there's no guaranteed work or money, that's not legal. That's not, in the state of New York, that's not legal. You can fight that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can try to, like, yeah, URL can offer the 5-year contract, right? And then, you know, have a battle rapper under this contract and, you know, give them one battle every 2 years or something. But once that battle rapper realizes and understand, like, wait a second, bro, I'm a private contractor. I have the ability to work with other people if I'm not getting my battles and I'm not getting paid. Like, what are we doing here? That's what's going on here. That's why it's important that ARP's pointing this out. So now we need to understand whether or not we're employees or we're private contractors. Because if so, we have a lot more freedoms than we think we do.
Undue hardship for the worker/contractor. We just made that point very clear. And four.
So long as the contract isn't causing any hardships either to the private contractor. Hardships, that's a gray area as far as how we define that, because that could be, preventing me from getting money, preventing me from being able to feed my family, preventing me from being able to do business with another company, even though you don't have any guaranteed work for me. Pretty much. Those are the types of gray areas that hardship means. That's what hardship, those are the types of hardships that means right there.
Not violate public policy. So we kind of got into some of that on the last article, and we just gave examples about it. Given that an independent contractor needs to work with various companies to earn a living, an overly broad non-compete provision preventing you from working with any competitor may pose an undue hardship.
So pretty much URL, and this is specifically if the battle rapper is considered, right, a private contractor. URL trying to prevent an Easy the Block captain, right, from doing something somewhere else, especially if it's not specifically outlined in a contract that you can't work there. That's a hardship. That's a hardship, bruh. That's what we're saying here. That's what's going on here. So when we go back to whether or not Easy the Block captain was right or wrong, really comes down to these types of things. Really comes down to whether or not, first of all, Easy's considered an employee or a private contractor. If Easy was considered a private contractor, that means that he's in his right to do business with another league, because because if he doesn't have a locked in guaranteed battle or any guaranteed bags, and he's a private contractor, that's what we're talking about, not an employee, A private contractor, he's able to do that. Maybe not with RBE, because RBE is specifically outlined in a contract that you can't work with this competitor. But again, if Chrome 23 specifically wasn't outlined in a contract, but then we have this on top of it. Again, it's funny to me when people try to say that, yo, that Easy was wrong for doing this kind, but don't take into consideration, again, whether or not the contract was fair to begin with. Whether or not it's actually fair to begin with. And the chances that URL is under the New York guidelines are pretty likely. Because they're based out of New York. So what he's reading right now most likely applies to the URL. These regulations, these rules that he's reading apply to URL because they're based out of New York, most likely. So that's most likely the rules and policies that they would have to abide by. So we got to think, man. So we got to think, bro. Easy was not wrong for doing what he did. He simply smartened up and started fighting fire with fire is what he did. He fought fire with fire is what he did. He simply woke up and said, nah, this isn't right. This isn't fair. And fought fire with fire, bro.
If a non-compete agreement unreasonably restrains your ability to work, it may not be enforceable.
So the contract may not be enforceable if it prevents the private contractor from being able to do any work anywhere else.
Depending on the circumstances, a non-compete agreement may also reclassify an independent contractor as an employee because the employer would be exercising financial control over the contractor. In this situation, a company may be subject to fines, and the contractor may have the right to take legal action to obtain unpaid overtime. That was this article. Okay. This is the English language that I'm reading here under New York state law websites. I think a lot of us, including me, haven't done a lot of that right there, let alone call a lawyer, That right there makes me feel a way about my own contracts and some of the things that could be in my contracts and some of the agreements I might have with battlers and some of the understandings that I want to have with battlers for me and Rare Breed Entertainment. Just so happens that over the years, we've really continued to say, we don't want to stop people from getting money. Everybody in our contracts is classified as a private contractor, because if you're not classified as a private contractor, the amount of stuff that you have to do as an employer for an employee is totally different. And legally, to have that over my head would be a whole different ballgame. So I don't go down that lane. For the people that have read RBE contracts, you're not an employee. You're definitely not an employee. You're a private contractor. So the undue restraint that it could be put on a private contractor or an employee based on duration and time range or their ability to generate monies that we read in these articles, I double back to the title of this and I say, once again, it's very easy for us to focus on the aftermath. It's like human nature. Oh, we see all, and let's talk about it from the end of when, we've seen all of this going forward. Nobody goes back to the start line and says, was this race supposed to be happening in the first place?
So was the URL contract or are URL contracts even fair to begin with, especially taking into consideration what the New York guidelines are pertaining to private contractors? Now we're starting to get to the nitty-gritty of the contract situation and what battle rappers should be 100% aware of and should know and understand 100%. Because again, there's a big difference between a battle rapper being an employee and a battle rapper being a private contractor, bro. You have significantly more freedoms and abilities as a private contractor even doing business with competitor leagues, than you would as an employee. But the thing is that I have this, and I'm thinking that that's kept gray intentionally. That might be kept gray or unknown intentionally, because if battle rappers do start to understand and or realize the differences and what they actually are, URL might have to end up doing more for employees, or URL might have to start to allow these private contractors to move around. So this is a very, very interesting conversation to spark in the battle rap community. Salute to ARP for speaking on this. Let me know what y'all think, man. You already know what it is. It's your boy Joe coming at you live and direct from the battle.